A lot of people ask me, because I play so hard and I'm so physical, how I keep myself from injuring myself. A lot of times people, when they play hard, they tighten up and they're using just their arms, and I try to use the entire body. So when I play, I try to think of my whole body as moving in one motion. That basically will give me power without trying to focus all my power on just my arms. It'd be as if, like a boxer, he doesn't hit you just with his fist, he hits you with his entire body. It's a technique which I never studied, but I kind of fell into because it was a natural movement, which I call the molar technique. Basically, as I started to play with more power, I was using fingers and wrists, but I started to include my arm, my forearm, my arm, my shoulder, and finally my entire body, creating this big movement. And this type of technique prevents me from injuring myself. People ask me where I go now at this point for new ideas. Well, I always go back to John Bonham, because that's like an encyclopedia of ideas. And I listen to everything. I mean, it's amazing. There's so many great drummers. People ask me, who's great today? And I go, everybody. Everybody seems great today. The real challenge is there's so much music, and there's so many great drummers, and there's so many videos, and there's so many books, and there's so much information. You have to really be selective. Instead of trying to learn 50 things at a C- level, learn 4 things at an A+ level. Really focus on like 4 or 5 things, whatever you have time for, and use those, like if it's a groove or a fill, use those for like 6 months to a year. Incorporate them into your playing. And because out of that comes other ideas.
When you pick up a pair of sticks, someone says play, right now. Most important thing, you can't do anything until you do this first. Pick the right beat to the song. If you change the beat, you change the song. Whatever beat you play affects the entire song and will affect everybody who's playing with you. Picking the right beat. Think about this. Most people wouldn't think of this as a cool beat. God, 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 right? Simple, right? Basic rock beat. 2 humongous songs were recorded to that beat. Kashmir by Led Zeppelin. Ba-da-da, 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 ba-da-da. Greatest Led Zeppelin songs ever made. How did John Bonham have the smarts to play just that? With all his technique? How about the same beat? Ba-da-da, ba-da-da, AC/DC. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. Ba-da-da, get ready. Right back to it. Ba-da-da. Back in black. That's one of the greatest songs ever heard in a studio, and that's what he played.
The thing about recording or making records in the studio is that you're there to serve the artist. If they have an idea what they want you to do, I personally am like, no problem. It's okay, because they hired me. Even if I play exactly every note they tell me to play, it's still going to sound like me. I always had an Aronoff fill, and I always have the Aronoff feel, and I always have tuned my drums a certain way, and I'm always going to sound like me. So it doesn't bother me when someone says, play this beat like this. The way I prepare for a tour with a new artist, like last year I was out with Michelle Branch, so I had to learn all that repertoire. Because I'm so busy, I don't have time to rehearse and prepare weeks on end. So what I do is I write these charts out, and I even will keep the charts with me on a hidden music stand that's built into my rack. And I'll keep, I'll start the tour with some charts, and as the weeks go by, I start getting down to no charts. Like when Melissa Etheridge's 3-hour show, we were learning 40 songs. With the Smashing Pumpkins, I think we had a list of 60 songs to learn, and we were changing them every day. That's the other thing. We change things all the time, so I would just rewrite the charts, and it made it easier for me. Vic Firth and I have been very, very good friends for a very long time because I was studying timpani with him when I was just a young lad. I had hair on my head, and he didn't have gray hair. So there you go. And I've known the family for a long time, so it's definitely a very cool relationship. It's not just like he makes sticks and I play them. I even remember when he was just making sticks for orchestral purposes, and I used to see him actually sew. He won't want me to tell you this, but I used to see him sew the heads on the top of the G1, the general timpani mount. He's sitting there sewing the heads on, the felt. How about that, Vic? Yeah. And then at one point he said, we'd like to make a signature stick for you. And so I designed a signature stick, a pretty big one, with grooves on the back. And now the Yankees are using that for batting practice. And when I went on tour with the Smashing Pumpkins, I'd always used a lot of different sticks in the studio. But I decided that when I went on tour with the Smashing Pumpkins, I was going to try to use a lighter stick. So I took my stick, which was basically a big rock stick, and duplicated I took that shape and made it the length of a 5B Extreme, and I made it the thickness of a 5B Extreme, but it has the shape, as you can see at the end, more of a rock stick. So I get a little bit more beef there, where I beat the crap out of it on the hi-hats and the crash cymbals, and they last a little bit longer. And the tip, unlike the 5B Extreme, is a little bit fatter, so I get a fuller sound on the tom-toms and snare drum. Somebody's asked me in clinics before about being a professional, and sometimes there's the illusion that rock and roll is completely wild, yoo-hoo, party, party. And there are those moments. To me, I just want to get the job done as to the utmost perfection. Then after the show, if you want to have something to drink, you do that. Get the reputation of being always the guy you don't have to, that's creating problems. Because literally that will start to become your rap, and it will affect your reputation, after a while.